Welcome to the machine. All right. We're here today. What's happening? What's going on? It's Saturday. We are on the 17th day of January of the year. January is the only time during the year where every day is actually the count of the year. Once we get to February, the count gets a little confusing. Just saying. But we are gonna have a lot of fun today. Don't forget to press the button to join. Yeah, it's pressed. It's joined. We're here today. We are going to be talking about craft, immersion, prose, smart sensory descriptions, tips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read my lesson that I wrote. So I'm going to talk about what it is, immersion is, etc., etc. It's fairly quick, and then I'm going to do a real-time example. I'm going to write. I'm going to show you different sensory descriptions, and then I'm going to show you how to combine those sensory descriptions, and I'm going to show you basically how to practice those sensory descriptions. Bloop the beard. You gotta bloop the beard. You do gotta bloop the beard. Because you gotta remember, if you bloop the beard, you gotta bloop that like button. All right. With that said, as always, before we get into the jump of it, remember there's a poll. We have a poll. There is a poll. Today's poll is specifically hardest part of starting chapters. We have one, which is finding the right entry point. We have two, avoiding repetitive intro patterns. So this is where it's always starting with dialogue, or it's always starting with somebody sitting down, or it's just continuous stuff. Number three is transitioning from the last chapter. I've been there. And of course, maintaining clarity on POV switches. All right. So if you're not using chapter title names with character names, what is the transition there? All right. We will talk about that at the end of the hour, but let's get into it. What's going on here? Hey, we got some movement. Good morning. What's up? Who doesn't love a game of choosy? choosy. Greetings. Hey, bro, what's up, man? Hi, bro. Angel Faye. By the way, big thanks and an amazing love to Angel Faye for joining. She has become a YouTube member. Fantastic. And as we know, there are videos available for members only, and there will be more and more posts for members only. All right, happy Saturday. What? I'm glad you're watching that. We're just going back and getting this in, and then we're going to start the lesson. Oh, that's me. We don't need me showing. Hey, look at flowers waving her. That's the birdie. All right. Then we got, of course, SB has made it. One is up, my friend. One is up. All right. Other than that, howdy, Angel. I wanted to choose one, but accidentally chose POV. That's okay. Which one did you want to choose? You let us know. It's just to get us interactive and thinking. That's all. Greetings and salutations, Afghani. Afghani, you might like today because today is about descriptions and sitting in moments. I know you have that fear about slowing things down to bore the audience. So this will also show you ways to be descriptive while also maintaining forward momentum. So that should be fun. Big heart and love to you. Malos, all the poll answers are actually pretty spot on, but I chose transitioning. Yeah, transitioning. I do have that. In my mind, I do think about transitioning for the last chapter. That's definitely something that's on my to-do. What's up, SB? I couldn't decide on the poll choice. Well, bro, you have all year to get back to me on it. But, more importantly, it's just fun to pick one. Next week's video will be cool, though. That's right. Angel Faye. Is it next week? Yeah. Next week, Angel Faye will be joining us. She's going to be a special guest during the sprint. Because we have the sprint. We have the sprint. The sprint. The sprint. Right? And she's going to talk to us about some book covers. All right. Other than that, entry point is my issue. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Entry point is a big issue. It's always something to really pay attention to, for sure. Hey, Diana. All right, let's get into it. So again, I'm gonna read my lesson. Then I'll come back. I'll read all your comments. If you have questions while I'm doing it, obviously ask. And then I'm going to a real time example for everybody. I've done 2 sprints today and was scared you were going to do one too. Oh no. That's true. They do once a month. Once a month. They do pop up randomly. However, I do have a special rotating lesson that I will be doing this year that will be on the Saturdays. So that might mix things up. All right, getting into it. Getting into it. All right, like I said, we are talking about craft immersion prose. Okay, so to start off, great writing lets readers step inside of a story, feeling it, experiencing it through the characters. And sensory descriptions is one of the many tools that can help make that happen, ultimately pulling in the sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and touches to build a world through the characters' interaction. But it's easy to fall into thinking it's only about painting pretty pictures. In truth, the best sensory details do more than decorate and come with purpose. What you write should reveal character, deepen emotions, and move the plot forward when possible. Of course, every writer approaches this differently. Some lean heavy on lush landscapes, others keep it sharp and and spare all the crazy details, keeping it quick. Neither is necessarily right or wrong. What matters is your intention, what is your author voice, and what is it you're trying to accomplish. So, but I am going to go over what sensory description is in general, then do a real-time example. My goal specifically for today is to help you explore the elements of sensory details and descriptions, why it matters in a narrative, and ultimately, it really comes down to making choices through the characters and how they are perceiving the world. The world. What do we got? We got one. Hey, Afghani, I'm writing some flashbacks right now that I will insert later into... I like it. Oh, that's an interesting way to do it. I'm not against or opposed or for, but that is a very interesting method. I think that's something to explore, where you sort of write these past worlds and then like how do you fit them into the narrative. I like that. I like the experimentation, sir. All right, first thing we're going to talk about is the core elements of sensory descriptions. Sensory descriptions bring a scene to life by engaging the 5 senses. That's right, 5 senses. We have sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. I'll have that on the screen in a moment when I'm doing my real example. But again, it's sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. Sight often leads the narrative prose by describing how light filters through a gathering of leaves or the flicker of a stranger's eye, but the others add depth. And the reason is because the majority of people, writers, authors, use visual cues. We write through what we see because that is how we experience life. So it's, what is somebody doing? Somebody ran is visual. That is not the other ones. It's visual. Okay, so that's usually how we do it. If we're noticing something, there is two bureaus, or the house is large. That's all visual. But the metallic tang of blood during a fight, or the low hum of distant traffic, even the rough scrape of wool against skin, can be a powerful adder to the descriptor. These elements bring the reader in through the character. When done well, these details do build a really nice and wonderful mood and add meaning to that mood. And the thing is, mood and meaning is important as long as it's through the POV of a character. For example, a rain-soaked street might mirror a character's grief. Right? You ever watch a movie or read a book, obviously, and while you're doing that, you're noticing that there is a theme or a connection to the description as well. If a character is tired, sometimes it equates to they're just done. If they're happy or in love, where is the scene? It's usually outside when it's a bright day, right? If it is a romance and they're happy, but it's a cute little moment for them. What is it? They rain and they have to cover their heads and they have to run through the rain, right? So see, the way you describe the environment and use the environment or the things that they are sensing does add to the mood and the meaning of the scene, or at least it could be. But I will say this: sometimes the curtains are blue. You know that there's no deeper thought into it. The curtains are blue. All right. But sensory writing does turn telling into vivid showing. This lets readers feel the story in through the characters. Because when we have empathy for a situation, or we could relate to the sensation or texture or tactileness of something, it definitely helps us connect. That's why emotions are so important when you're writing them. It's better to say, show and feel the anger than it is to tell the anger, because if we could start feeling it through our own minds, we can start being on the page. And ultimately, descriptions help with fictional worlds become what? Tangible. Okay? All right. Next. We're almost done. I have one more after this. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. All right? And what does this mean? It means it can become very tempting to overload your paragraphs with sensory details. You know, the scent of pine, the chill in the air, a distant bark of a dog. And I get it. Adding that feels rich and immersive. Of course it does. Look, I put everything into it. The human experience is being explored on the vast dimension of all elements and levels. But more isn't always better. Overdoing it can slow the pace. More importantly, it can distract from the heart of the scene or end up feeling, which is an issue, purpley prose. The secret is letting your details earn their place. Sensory descriptions should filter through your character's awareness, their emotional experiences, and of course, their choices. It's what they choose to notice, it's what connects to them. And all of this should be shaped by who they are and what they're feeling. So it's always important to understand who your characters are, because it dictates the description, the narrative, and the movement. Because a grieving widow might notice the stale smell of her husband's cologne lingering on her shirt, but somebody who's there to show their respect might not even acknowledge it. And sure, if you want to go into a character's brain, a hungry child might fixate on the warm, yeasty aroma of fresh bread because they're starving. Even though they're a child, they might be like, oh, I need food. Because senses should come from the character. What they ignore is going to reveal their inner truth just as much as what matters to them. So when you're writing, does a detail deepen the emotional connection of a character and that specific moment? If not, how could it? How do you do that? Right? Because you should be thinking above and beyond. Does what they see, feel, hear, or taste reveal who they are as a character? You often see me drinking soda, but today I'm drinking the agua, having a beve. But my choice to drink wild cherry Pepsi is a choice. It's a character-defining choice. Okay? Now, obviously, if a character's like, can I just get a drink? That might not be as defining. But if someone brings them water and they go, you got something with a little bit more flavor, that becomes character-defining. If they drink the water and it's like, oh, it just has no taste, it's just so yuck. It leaves a film on my tongue. Give me a beer or give me a soda. That's character, right? But the taste becomes something that influences that. I will say this. If it's just going to end up being pretty description or just what kind of words can I use to show that I'm a really great writer and I got all the best details, those extreme descriptions might not necessarily fit the character. For example, in Death of a King, there is Devious, who's the main protagonist, and Aaliyah, who's the secondary protagonist. Whenever the scenes are moving through Aaliyah, she is a bard, a thief, a woman that has, well, the woman part is not as important, but she is a bard, a thief, and someone who's lived in the city world. So she notices the city, but specifically she is looking through the lens of a musician, through a lens of a thief. So she is paying attention to her environment for escape, her environment for particular targets, her environment of how does it make a melody? Where is she feeling the music or the art of it all? Whereas Devious is more in the open, and he's outside in the fields and the forests, and he's hearing nature. He's breathing more. He slows down. Aaliyah is constantly in motion, right? So the characters themselves will help define what it is doing what it is. If description is just description for description's sake and is not directly connected to the POV, whether it's omniscient, first person, third person, even second person, it will deteriorate the emotional truth of that scene. Does that mean you have to go super deep? No. It just means when you do create a descriptor, make sure it has purpose and isn't just, I want the reader to know that the castle has 16 massive paintings on it. Not only did the paintings not add to the plot, but the character doesn't really care about any of this stuff either. They're not even interested in wealth. But I want to make sure that the reader knows that there are tons and tons of really beautiful paintings. In fact, I'm going to show the evolution of the paint. So we have acrylics, and then we have water paint, and like the paint evolves over the years, and it shows history. But why is that being described? Is it bad to describe that? Not necessarily. But if it's not through the character, you are spending your word count and not doing any work, or allowing things to happen. You know how I often say things are happening, but nothing is happening? If you just describe the painting for historical facts, or the evolution of paint, or the wealth of the castle, that is things happening, but nothing is happening. That same scenario can become things are happening, like it is happening, if you just make it go through the character's POV. And the reason is because now it is doing something. It's teaching us something about the character. It's moving the plot, their interests, the world, right? Whereas the other one isn't necessarily doing so. All right. Basically, have your characters make choices and feel the scenes through their emotional state. That way your writing stays purposeful, intimate, and truthful. All right. With that said, I'm just going to read my real quick right mindset perspective, and then we're going to go into the example. I ran, then I walked. That's funny. That character is me. Bring me a soda. That is me. That is me. All right. So my right mindset perspective on how to look at this information is your job as a writer isn't to prove how cleverly you can describe a room. It's about letting your characters be felt as the readers read. This leads to honest characters that readers can truly see and feel. When you let the senses serve the story instead of your need to be the most amazing writer in the world, characters now breathe on the page. So, my advice is to be patient with yourself as you practice this tool, and it is a tool, a skill you need to practice, I assure you. And let's be honest, some days you'll be able to click in with your descriptions as if it was naturally always meant to be. But other days it might feel like, hey, I can't get this out. How do I do that? And that's normal, by the way. So sometimes if you just have to kind of get through, like, there's a scene I was working on where there's characters like on like garbage heaps. And the original way I wrote it was ultimately that, they walked around in debris and it stunk, and I didn't really get into it. I didn't have time to sit there into the immersion because I was just trying to understand the scene, the characters, and make sure there was movement, right? Narrative movement. And everything is just shorthand. There's debris. It smells. It's whatever. It's very filtered through things. It's telling. But then as I got to the second draft, and then the third draft, and then finally the polished draft, it emerged into the way it like stuck on them, and like the slip of things, and the very specific smells and stuff like that. So it's okay if you're not finding the descriptor right away, especially because remember, great writing is rewriting. So if you're working on your first draft, or even a zero draft or a second draft, and you're like, I just don't know how to describe that, you don't have to. Just shorthand it. Just shorthand it. It stunk. It was a bad smell. It was revolting, whatever. And then when you go back to do your rewrites and you do your work, maybe you want to maintain a quick pace, and you don't need to go into the depth of the specific smell. But at the same time, you could always try and see what it looks like, what it feels like. And if the descriptor change, making it specific from it was a revolting smell to, you know, the crass, uh, uh, um, the crass violence of odor creeping up from behind the trash compactor of severed fish heads, and you're like, does that feel good? Does that feel? Is there more movement in that? Sometimes there isn't. Maybe it just slows down. It doesn't do anything. So you're allowed to make those choices, and I implore you to try things because you could always change it. You do not have to commit to what you do. You write. You can change it until forever. You're allowed to make adjustments. So all I'm saying is every writer basically wrestles with this reality, and you have to find the right balance between being descriptive, maintaining a quick pace, what it is you're trying to do as an author with your author voice, and how these characters are absolutely a part of that process. What I would say is learn to trust your instinct, have conviction in your confident choices, and remember, you're allowed to change your mind. It does not make you a poor writer if you chose something and then you realize you have to adjust it. All great writers do that. And you're not trying to impress anyone. You're trying to serve the narrative. You're trying to connect with your readers. You're trying to bring these characters to life. All right. Before I get into the example in real time, does anyone have any questions on what I just said and what we went over? I'm happy to answer anything real quick before we get into it. Ooh, doing good with the well, we are trying to find out any questions. Just a reminder, there is a poll that we will talk about at the end of the hour. Hardest part of starting chapters. We have finding the right entry point. We have avoiding repetitive intro patterns. We have transitioning from last chapter. And of course, we have maintaining clarity on POV switches. Just to be clear, finding the right entry point is, where do I start? Do I start in the middle? Do I start at the end? Do I start with them sitting down, sleeping, waking up? Do I start with them in the car, outside the car? So that's important. Avoiding repetitive intro patterns. This is ultimately where, and it's not uncommon, where, I start with dialogue every time, or I start with physical action every time, or I start with an emotional, you're changing up the intros are important, especially it always starts with description or whatever. So it's good to change it up. Transitions from last chapter. This just means, are you maintaining an emotional truth from one chapter to the next? And if you're switching POVs, how is this chapter beforehand's emotional truth influencing the emotional truth of a completely different area of your narrative while maintaining that momentum? So that's what transition for that. And then, of course, maintaining clarity of POV. Who the hell is in this chapter? Oh, we got two. We got Not I, says the row. Excellent. I have a question for later on. Excellent. Please, Flower, remember that. I love questions. All right, let's get into it. Flowers. All right, I'm going to take some water agua. It's 2:30 already? Jeez. We are flying through. Okay. Again, if you have questions while I'm doing this, feel free. All right, you might see some familiar senses, and then you might be like, Thomas, what's wrong with you? You seem crazy. So these 5 senses are very common. Sight. I'm going to actually color code them. So when we go through and analyze, you can see smell. It smells in here. Touch. Taste. It tastes very good. And then we have time. Time. What is time? All right. I think we can do that. Ooh, it's too dark. We'll go a little lighter. Movement. Let's go with this. I'm going to do that. That's going to be interesting. And then internal sensations and emotions. This one, I think we'll do this. Ooh, what do we got? Too dark to see. Too dark. Is it too dark? Is it too dark with the with me making the lettering lighter? Did the lettering lighter make it easier? If so, we'll just fix it. We'll go back. All right, I'll fix. Maybe that's good. That looks good, right? No lyrics. Oh, oh, too dark to see. Oh. Sight and taste are too similar. Sight and taste. Oh, I see. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Let's do that. Ooh. All right. And then this one, I think this one I can make like a bright green. I think that works. All right. Don't worry, I'm going to write it out and then I'm going to go through and, you know, color it up so you can see. Anyway, with that said, give them each a smell. They smell like fish. You're welcome, bro. Always. You know I like the feedback. All right. I'm here to try to make it easy for everybody, you know. So let me just real quick. Sight, sound, smell, touch. Ooh, sight and sound. Sight is always going to be visual. This is what we are physically seeing. It is ultimately what is happening on the page. So anytime, sight is always going to be, you know, the car drove by and, you know, Ellen jumped out of the way, right? So this is sight, okay? Sight. All right. Sight. You know what I can do? I could just you could do that. All right. Sight. Okay. Sound. We all know what sound is. We've heard sounds before. Right? Sound. Sound is a very common one too. The car. Oh. Loud horn. Blast. By. As the car drove. As. First of all, I wrote job. Okay. Jumped out of the way. A loud car. Now, loud car is a very standard. Could be wrong. I mean, we're starting off small. We're going to start off small. I'm going to explain what they are, and then I'm going to show you real-time example. I'm going to actually write something out, and I'm going to focus on a very specific sensory detail, writing a passage. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the same exact passage, but only with sound, and then only with smell, only with... And then I'm going to show you... This is a good way to exercise. This is solely for an exercise. But once we have all the examples of those passages, what I will do from there is I will show you how to pick and choose. And it really helps you find your voice. I think I want to do this. So just so it's not... All right. Okay. A loud horn. Those bastards. All right. Next is smell. We know what smell is, don't we? This is a common one too. That's why I'm just going to rush through it. All right. We could just do the same thing. Car drove by. And the exhaust. Oh. And Ellen lapped the exhaust cloud. The exhaust cloud. Her new face. Clearing the air. It's burning stench. All right. Okay. Thomas, you gotta check your spelling. I know. All right. Okay. And then, of course, touch. That's another pretty common one. Look at the commonness. Oh, we got more. Exhaust. Oh, yeah. Did I spell it? No, it's spelled right now, right? Oh, yeah, no, the spell check. My spell check happens. Exhaust. All right, so touch, okay? What is... Ooh. What we got? Oh, yeah. You are welcome. In my book, the main character is basically an undead brought back to life, so he doesn't have a sense of smell, taste, or touch. Interesting. Yes, but does the undead character have a desire for smell, taste, or touch? So the lack thereof is also a potential opportunity to utilize sensory, as in the lack of, grabbing something and noticing the lack of touch, noticing the lack of smell, maybe lingering, lifting up a freshly cooked cookie, and being like, thinking about the smell that he doesn't have, or focusing on the lack of smell as the sensory element therefore becomes smell. So it's important to do that. Ciao, Bella. What is up, Emma? Watch everyone. I figured. Howdy, Emma. Sorry I'm late. My hands were too floury to cut. Yeah, she was making pizza without me. Has he developed a new way of accessing those senses? Oh, I love that thought, Flowers. Yes, Afghani, that's a fantastic thing to think about. Is does he uh, does he perceive sensories different because of his situation? My character was gifted cosmic awareness, allowing him to sense things no human can comprehend. I love it. I love it. And that gives you a lot more room to play with too, because now you have to make up by the way things are feeling in a sense. All right, so touch. Here's a couple there's a few things you could do with touch, right? So believe it or not, car's weight shifted Ellen off the road, just missing her. All right. Leaving her legs numb beneath her. All right. So, if you notice, touch doesn't always have to be, it was cold when I picked up the cup. Touch can be something more. You could feel the presence of something is just as much a touch as not. So the car's weight shifted Ellen off the road, just missing her, leaving her legs numb beneath her. So all those are senses of touch. Touch. And then, of course, the final one that we are all very commonly aware of is taste. Not really, but he finds a way to use it to his advantage at crucial points. That's very cool. I like that the quote-unquote flaw or disadvantage of a character's inability to feel or sense certain things ends up becoming an advantage. But I do recommend thinking about how you can create sensory elements through the lack of sensory, because that is what they are feeling. So do they even feel the pressure of holding something? How do they know if they're holding it or not? So if they can't feel the pressure, do they overcompensate? You know what I'm saying? And all those things become like little traits that you. All right. Taste. Okay. The car drove by. It did. And Ellen. Okay. So let's say Ellen jumped out of the way, swallowing stoke of her ear in mouthful soda saliva. That's spelled wrong. Is it spelled wrong? Saliva? Did I spell it right? Saliva. Saliva. Oh, I think I did. No, I spelled it. Did I spell it wrong? No. From the mouth. I think I spelled that wrong. Saliva. There we go. I think I spelled the plant. Saliva. Okay. Thank you, Ro. You're the best. All right, so these are the pretty common sensory elements. But believe it or not, time is also a very time. Let's put movement. Okay. And then, of course, internal sensations and emotions. All right. These three are not as common, okay? Okay. You might be saying, but Thomas, what the hell are you talking about? Time. The sense of time, whenever you look at time, it's always the idea of movement that becomes a sense, but not it's 3 days later. The sense of time is actually Ellen's muffin arrived to the table. She picked at the edges, rumbling. Right, so that sets urgency. Well, urgency could be a sense of time, but urgency doesn't have to necessarily be time. It could just be that something needs to, danger is imminent. But yeah, it could be like the bomb is going to go off, or lack thereof. Yeah. But it can also time can also be what I'm trying to show here, which is, let's say the first passage, or let's say this is how I open up the scene, and then there's like, passage, 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 right? Okay, and then Ellen tore the muffin in half, taking, uh, whatever. It could tore the muffin in half and ate the smaller side. The smaller side. All right, and then there's passage, right? So what this does is it gives a sense of time as moving, because the human brain, the way it works, is ultimately, if I have a glass of water and at the beginning of the scene it starts here, and then at the end of the scene it's down low, and I'm making notice of it as a character, or I'm like, oh, can I get another drink? It is showing the movement of time. All right, so that's one way you can use time as a sensation. You are giving the reader a sense of time. Fantastic, my friend. But there, obviously there are other ways you can utilize time. That is a great example. Is ultimately like, the urgency sense. The bomb. It says 4 minutes on the bomb. 4 minutes and 13 seconds remained on the bomb. Like, that is time per se, but that isn't the only use of time. There are many different ways. I see, get what you mean there. The other thing, and I do this, if anyone has read The Death of the King that I don't know about yet, or you're a part of the Patreon, you know that there are times when I talk about the angle of shadows on the trees, or the fact that there are shadows, or how the moons work. So I use the element of environment to help dictate time. The other thing I do is, Devious has no beard, and then he has, he has a little bit of beard, and then he has a long beard, and then he has a thick beard, and then his beard has braids, right? His hair is short, and then it's medium, and then it's long, and then it's down his back, and then it's to his ass. Those elements give a sense of time. It can be the day the novel starts. Wait, what? It can be the day the novel starts, right? Like, if it's morning, or yes, yeah, absolutely. So if you present that it is morning somehow, and by the way, not by saying it is morning. That is not the sensory element. That is telling. That would be the same as saying this tastes good, or this tasted spicy, or somebody just saying it like, oh, this was spicy, right? It's not necessarily a sensory. The sensory element of it is morning would be whatever the element is. The dew of water on plants. If you're walking around in nature, maybe the birds whistling, whatever it is. Maybe the sun is just peeking over the horizon. All that becomes sensory. But the moment you say it is morning or it is evening, that isn't necessarily sensory. But yes, the existence of the time of the day is as important. Yeah. Showing it. Yes, we always got to show it. Now, movement. I have it in my current book. That's fantastic. I love seeing those little details because it makes everything feel like it is living, that it is existing. You know, if we could see how the sun works or how characters see stuff, you know, it's all a very nice thing. Oh, hello, welcome, Heather. Appreciate you stopping by. We are just talking over sensories. I'm actually going to do a real-time example, Heather. If you're just dropping in for the first time, I'm going to ultimately be showing full on passage, and then showing how to turn that passage into different sensory elements. Heather. Oh, I feel Emma and Heather know each other because that's excitement. I love seeing excitement. Welcome. We celebrate and elevate. All right, where are we? Where are we? My computer feels like it's going slow today, and that doesn't make any sense. All right, movement. So movement is also a sensory as well, okay? So movement is different than let's do Ellen. Ellen walks across the room. That isn't necessarily movement. Welcome to the stream. Ooh, this is my current passion, reader immersion. Fantastic, Heather. Fantastic. Yeah, if there's one thing you'll learn about me is oh, Emma. I have a tick. I'll constantly sing whatever pops up in the comments. Welcome to the jungle. Yeah, so Heather, I love immersion. I'm a very I like the depth of showing. It's one of my passions, so I like talking about. But real quick, this is not sensory detail for movement. Ellen walked across the room. How Ellen walks across the room. So if we went, Ellen shifted her feet across the tiled kitchen floor, socks sliding her closer to the fridge, just as an example. Fridge. Okay, obviously we're gonna do a spell check. Kitchen floor, because all great writers have great editors. All right, so the big difference here, what we got here, he'll combine the words. Yeah, I will definitely. Welcome to the Heather. So the big difference, movement sensory, is showing that sort of that kineticness, you know, that element of movement. So what is it? Kinesic? I can't say the word. But movement has a flow to it. It shows the actual yeah, we're crazy here, Heather. We have a lot of weird fun. So as you can see in the example, Ellen shifted her feet across the tiles of her kitchen floor, her socks sliding her closer to the fridge. Kinesis. Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you. Kinesis. Yes. Hi, Angel Faye. Yes, kinesis. It's showing the movement. It's giving a sense of, like, for example, you know, let's see. Bounce from one wall to the next. Shifting between behind. Oh, actually, landing behind the couch. And let's see, vibrating to a stop. Okay. Okay. So the ball bounced from wall to wall. Okay, landing behind. Wow. By the way, that is what dyslexia looks like in real time. Not only did I say the ball bounced from wall to the next wall, but I didn't even write. My brain just, that's not couch. What is going on here? All right. I had dyslexia, so it gets pretty fun. All right, so the ball bounced from wall to wall, landing behind the couch and vibrating to a stop. That creates movement. By the way, just to be clear, when I say movement, that is different than when I talk about narrative movement. And we know that I talk about it all the time. Like a passage needs to have narrative movement or movement, going from one movement to another movement. That is different than what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the sensory element of movement, and hopefully that gets it. Okay. Internal sensations and emotions. I'm going to actually bring this to the next page just so I have a little bit more room to work with. Okay. If, again, you've read anything from the Patreon, the Death of a King series that I'm working on, there is a moment where the character's in the forest and they are surrounded by something, and there is a sensation going through one of the other characters. So you've seen this in action if you read that page, or that chapter, I should say, where something massive shows up, right? So the internal sensations and emotions. Be right back. Need to put my daughter down for night. Good night to the child. Good night, daughter. So to be clear, Ellen, I'm actually going to take a line and then I'm going to build on it. So let's see, just missing. Okay. All right. Ears rang deeper than the drums. Drums. Waved for okay. So obviously I'm a little bit more I like a little bit more lyrical. But ultimately, no spelling errors. So what's happening here is it's an internal sensation, and we are adding a sense of emotion without explaining the emotion. The car's weight shifted Ellen off the road, just missing her, leaving her legs numb beneath her. The numb is a sensation, okay, but we want to go internal. So numb beneath her is just saying that her legs feel, again, if we go back to that, that was touch. So the numb legs is touch, but her ears rang deeper than the drums, or drums within. Okay, and the street waved before her, shaking in the loose of her eyes. So this is going internal to how she's internally experiencing the anxiety or the trauma. So it's not necessarily that she is hearing a ringing sound. It is there's a thing that happens when you have anxiety or you disassociate. There's like a right, okay, and then the street waved before her. Right, it's sort of like she's dizzy, right? But without saying she's dizzy, it's without saying that it's blurry. Okay, wave before her, shaking in the loose of her eyes. So she's disassociating ultimately. All right, so that's an internal sensation that is filtered through emotions, and that's what that would look like. Do you have to do all of these? Not necessarily. What I would recommend as advice. This must be the most difficult one to pull off. I'll say what my music teacher once said to me when I said guitar must be the most difficult because it has so many strings, and he said to me, every instrument is the most difficult because you don't know how to use it. So anything you approach is going to be difficult until you put effort into it and time. I would almost argue that sound, taste, or smell can be just as difficult as internal sensations and emotions if we're not necessarily learning those skills, if we're not putting time into practicing those elements. I feel that you can be fantastic at any one of these, great at others, and then good at some, but I don't think being bad at any of these is a determination of a good writer, because again, we're always learning, we're always developing, right? So, but I will say this: you don't need to use all of these, right? These are going to be the most common for obvious reasons. Sight will be the one you use probably 70% of the time. Touch will be probably the most, the second most, I should say. Okay, sound third, smell, and then finally taste. This is pretty common in writing. We constantly see things. We often touch stuff. We hear what's coming. We smell it, and rarely do we describe the taste of things, right? All right, let me correct myself. The most difficult for kindergarten learning level. That's accurate. All right. Now, as far as time, movement, and internal sensations and emotions, these are really nice to have as sprinkles. You know, I do love this for building tension. I do love this for sucking the audience into the internal mess going on with a character. But I use it for purposeful moments, and I don't necessarily go, oh, I have a scene. How can I go internal here? How can I, right? But another thing I like doing, Afghani was talking about flashbacks earlier. I like to use this for flashbacks. I'll use the internal sensations and emotions to sort of develop the flashback. So I'll use that to trigger a flashback. And then I sort of go in, and then I allow the flashback to come out. So there's like a movement of that. This I use a lot for high stakes in battles, people running around trying to get out of there. For example, there's a chapter, I'm not going to give away anything, but there's a character running through the streets, and instead of me just going, so-and-so ran through the streets, I talk about how they're weaving and dodging through people, how they're going under their legs, how people are reacting to that, how, you know, or there's another, you know, I talk about like somebody riding a horse and the emerald streaks of leaves passing by their face. That is a movement, right? So I do that for adding a little bit more intensity. That makes sense. For sure. Yeah. Whenever you could go internal and allowing it to come external, there it is. All right. So I wanted to show you those three sensories just as options for you. They're not, you know, time. Sometimes we don't even know we're writing time. You know, the moment you describe the horizon, or, you know, the sun is going down as the moon comes out or whatever, that's time. The moment you talk about, like, if the scene opens with somebody getting a jacket, putting on their clothes, finding their keys, all that is technically time because you're showing the process of something being accomplished. All right. If a character is trying to solve a puzzle, every step of that puzzle being solved becomes time. Feeling impatient is time. Correct. So anything that represents the movement of time forward, back, or the sense of time is considered time. Like they wished things were happening faster. That might be internal sensation because the character is wishing. The character is wishing for things to go faster. However, if you showed characters checking their watch, that would be time. So if they are if they are like, I just wish, why aren't things hurrying up? Where is this person? That is internal, or could almost be considered telling, but because it's dialogue, I wouldn't say it is telling, because dialogue shows character choice by what they say and don't say. But looking at a clock, pacing, you know, checking the window, constantly checking the window, that would be a sense of time through the sensation of frustration. All right, anyway, so let's get into it. We are going to try to write these elements. We're going to go down here. I thought I'd be further along before, but that's all right. It's all right. Okay. It's all right. If everyone wants me to stop, I'll stop. Don't you worry. For anyone new here, just know that there is a poll in the, what do we call it? Oh, jeez. The, below, we have hardest part of, what is going on here? The hardest part of starting chapters. We have finding the right entry point, avoiding repetitive intro patterns, transitioning from last chapter, and of course, maintaining clarity in POV switches. So feel free. Okay. We will wait. All right. Let's close this. Let's close that. All right. What was that about? All right. I don't know what that was about. My computer's being silly. All right. Where are we? Okay. Uh the computer is coming back. And this is an example of time passage. Yes, that was commercial break. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Jesus. The computer's being weird. I'm gonna have to check that out. Okay. 1 second. 1 second. What do we got? Sorry. All right, so the buttons are working. Okay, so here we go. I've been gone for a minute. No, it was. I have my heater on, and when the heater's on, it heats up the. Imagine a reboot. I thought I lost reboot. I thought I lost me too. All right, so here we goes. We're gonna do sight first, okay? Sight is very simple. I guess we'll keep using. Should we keep using Ellen? Yeah, Ellen entered the large room. Okay. The blue shades held open in the far side. What's a word for what's a room? Dining room? No, a living room. The living room. The living room. All right. Fire. All right. So a couple things. Did the Matrix go off? Yes, the Matrix did go off. That's funny. All right. So a couple of things. Right off the bat, this is all sight, okay? But if you notice, nothing is happening. So things are happening, but nothing is happening. Yeah, Ellen is technically entering the room. The blue shades held open in the far side of the living. So she is technically making a choice to see that, but it's still not really showing what I would call narrative movement. Okay, and the couch. The couch took up the depth of its middle, sitting across from the fireplace. All right, so we're going to go in. We're going to sort of add a little bit more character to this, okay? All right. Let's say Kellen pushed open the heavy door. Oh, we can't say heavy yet because that would be touch. All right. Because it shows weight, right? All right. Dark stained door. Dark. Dakar. Dark stained door. Entering. We don't have to say entering now. Ellen pushed open the dark stained door. Stepping into the room. Child played. Why are my fingers not working? A child played outside window, framed in the blue shades, held open on the far side of the living room. Okay. She's not past. Is it past? I don't know. Spell check time. All right, okay. All right, okay. She stepped past the couch and took up the depth of its middle and closed the blinds. Oh, the curtains. Is it curtains? Blue shades. All right. Took the depth of its middle. Shades. All right. And then we could say the fireplace. But this would be, I'm trying to keep away from sounds and stuff like that and smell. So the fireplace, waited. Waited. Lit. Cross from the couch. We'll say the green couch. Green couch. It's ugly. All right. Let's check the spelling. Excellent. All right. So one of the things that I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to do sight. I'm not trying to put any sensories into it yet. Okay. I will say this though. I don't think I need this, but the fireplace sat in wait. Let's personify lit across the room. Across from there. Okay. Personification. All right. I like doing that. I like giving like things like inanimate objects sort of like agency. The fireplace sat and wait. The fireplace sat and wait. So that's how you give like items sort of agency and stuff like that. I just like doing it because I like lyrical style. Anyway, so this is all sight. Every element of this is sight. Ellen pushed open the dark-stained door, stepping into the room. A child played outside the window, framed in the blue shades held open on the far side of the living room. She stepped past the couch that took up the depth of its middle and closed the shades. The fireplace sat in wait, lit across from the green couch. Now, the reason everything is sight is because we are seeing the child outside the window. We are seeing the blue shades framing her. We are seeing Ellen walk past the couch, and then lit is still in there. Lit is that how you lit? Lit as in light, right? Like it lit the room. Yeah, it's illumination. Lit is illumination. So lit is like it's lit across the room. You know, it's the fire is making light. If you would like, I could do the fireplace sat and wait. I could do that. If you want me to do this, lighting across room, shading the green couch, orange hue. Okay. If that feels a little bit more comfortable, I can do that. It doesn't matter to me. Lit is a word though, I believe. And I think this has to be, I have to article that, right? Yeah, okay. I thought so too, as in lit was, I believe lit is correct though. I think lit is correct in that situation. But we could just use it like more generic. Lighting across the room, right? The fireplace sat and wait, lighting over the room, shading the green. Okay. I took it to be lit and roaring, lying in wait. Oh, I see what you did there. Well, yeah, the roaring, though, would be sound. So we're trying to avoid that for now. But anyway, all right. So every element of this is showing what is happening or what we are looking at in the scene. But if you notice, I gave it movement through character. So Ellen has agency by pushing open the dark-stained door. She is taking note of the dark-stained door. She has agency stepping into the room. A child played outside the window. This is what she would notice, framed in the blue shades, held open on the far side of the lane. So what does Ellen do? She has agency. She stepped past the couch. I would probably change stepping. Maybe. All right. Maybe more. She. Whatever. Actually, we'll wait. We'll wait till we get to movement. All right. She stepped past the couch that took up the depth of its middle and closed the shades. So she has the agency. She's trying to close the shades from the child. And then the fireplace sat and wait, lingering, lighting. Actually, you know what? Lighting over the room, shading the. Right. So anyway, so that is sight. So let's take the same thing and add some touch to this. Okay. Touch. And you don't have to do a lot. Remember, you don't want to overwhelm scenes, right? So little tiny things is just enough. So I would say, throw rug as she crossed. Oh, or I should say, as she entered. All right. All right. By the way, there's some quote unquote movement, right? All right. Ellen pushed open the dark. Oh. Ellen pushed open the heavy, dark stained door. Heavy creates touch because now we are representing weight or thickness, right? So that's important. Okay, the rubber on her shoe, rubber on her shoe, right? Flipped the edge up and over, becomes touch because she is feeling the rubber and she is feeling the rug, but it's also sight, by the way. You can mix and match these, right? And let's maybe get one more in there. The fireplace, satin white. Now we can change lighting. We could change it to warming over the room. Shading the room. There you go. All right. So now we'll get back. I'm going to color code everything soon, but now we need sound. This one's pretty easy. Child laughed, tossing a ball up and down. Tossing a ball outside the window, framed. Okay, so now we have laughter, and then we also on the fire sat and crackling. Crackling. All right. Let's make sure that's spelled correctly. Child laughed. Son of a dyslexia. Now, by the way, Oxford Comma would suggest that I have to do this. Waiting over the room and shading the green couch in an orange hue. Just to be clear, though, as an author, you can make the choice for your author voice for rhythm. So if I really wanted to, I could do this. I could say the fire sat and wait, crackling, warming, crackling, right? But I could also crackling and warming over the room, shading the. So now that changes it, right? You could also do the fire sat and wait, crackling. You could do this. It's warmth, soothe the small area. or you could say soothe the area, shading the green cat. All right, so you could do that too. You could play with movement like that. Just so you know, like you don't always have to follow the, because when in creative writing, you also want to use fragmented sentences for rhythm. So you don't always have to, as they say, well, this has to be grammatically correct, especially in dialogue. By the way, do not, if you use Grammarly or Quillbot or anything, great, that's awesome, you know, it's good for that, but you have to remember it's trying to essay you, it's trying to create an essay style grammar correction, and that usually all right, now that sounds more like a fire. That is a flame. You burn me up, sir, you burn me up. All right, now we want to do smell. So there's a couple of things I could do. I could go back to the fire, but I think the fire has enough sensory elements that why should we go into the crickle crackle of the burning wood, or could we maybe, all right, the rubber of her shoe flipped the edge over. All right, a kick of dust puffed up, casting her grandfather's aged home into the air. Stale. Kind reminder of his once presence. Okay. All right. By the way, sorry, not to be such a grammar Nazi. If we look at this, bloop, I want to point out I did naturally of his pants presence. I think I could do that, right? Right, because that's okay. So, by the way, which draft would this be? That's a good question. Grammar check is a must for sure. I agree. Or just graduate. For the record, this is not how I write. I don't sit there and go, let me write a passage and then let me add more and more details. What I would probably do is start with, like, a very generic, broad, general statement or idea to get the passage out, and then I would go in, and when I do the first draft, I'll add a little bit of immersion. But second draft is where I go in and add the that's where my focus is. How do I add emotional truth and immersion? The second draft is always where I add the depth. It's you know me, I'm always gradual. I would go in and add the depth. By the way, I am over fluffing this passage. This passage is highly we only need to do taste, but that's what I'm going to bring this down so we can see it more. This passage is I'm overdoing it on purpose so you could see, like, we're flicking stuff in. But I will be honest, I do go through in the second draft and add more. I add more emotional truth, more emotional movement, a connection to. And Flowers, you're reading Death of a King on Patreon, and you when you look at like a third draft compared to say the first draft compared to say the zero draft, that's exactly how I do it. The zero draft is like, this is happening, and maybe there's some, like, it was scary or it was dark, and then the first draft I'm adding some movement. I'm trying to have an introduction to the chapter. I'm trying to make the environment feel present. But then you don't see the second draft, but the third draft version that is on there, that's where the second draft is where all that, like, I'm adding a little bit more character choice and stuff in there. So that's this is Thomas's example of exercises for us. Yes, this is an exercise. Good. So I'm not at this point yet. You're not. You do not have to worry about this kind of depth in a zero first. I would almost argue a second draft, depending on your skill level. Third draft is fine to touch this on. I would almost, because this is building up, I would do this. Ellen pushed open the heavy, dark stained door, her foot shifting the throw rug as she entered the room. The rubber of her shoe flipped its edge up and over. A kick of dust puffed up, casting her grandfather's aged home into the air. A stale, kind reminder of his once calming presence. Then I would do this. I break it up. A child, she stepped okay. And I would do that. So that is something you have to pay attention to too. When you're writing and expanding a passage, sometimes the expansion does break it up into new movements. And movements are basically it's something. This is her entering the room. This is the whole, she noticed the child, so she reacts to it. And then this is the aftermath of what she does. She's recognizing the fire. I do have to do taste, but I just wanted to point something out before I go into taste. It helps us practice building these skills in a safe location outside of our stores. Yes, yes, Ro. 100%. I recommend doing that. Yeah, I recommend doing this as much as possible. You should not only practice when you write. Uh, and I get it. I get it, I don't have time to practice, so I'm only going to use the time I have to write my books. But sometimes all it takes is 5 minutes to practice writing a description. You know, how did your coffee taste to you this morning? Write that down in a notebook. Write it down in your phone, right? How did you feel when somebody disrespected you? How did you feel when you accomplished something? You just write it down. You don't even have to write it down as I felt good. You could write it down in third person or omniscient. You could write it down in a. So this is a good exercise for that. But the thing I wanted to point out is I did add the internal. So remember we have time, movement, and internal sensation. I just naturally kind of popped that in. A kick of dust puffed up, casting her grandfather's aged home into the air. That's the smell, but a stale, kind reminder of his once calming presence. That is internal. That becomes the internal, internal sensation. Okay, the movement is this. She stepped past the couch, right? What you say? She her hips past the couch. Past couch, rubbing her hand. I don't know. What do they call the back of the thing? Back of a couch is called. Oh, the pillow back. All right, over its pillow back. All right, then I might take a. I'd almost take that out. She shifted her legs, her hips past the couch, rubbing her hand over its pillow. Tracing fingers. Tracing her fingers over its length. I don't feel I would need this anymore. That would be too much. All right. What we got? My sleepless mind lets me practice at 3 a.m. Grabs phone. Oh my god, I need to get that down. So true. So true. You can invent a book as a practice. Yeah, well, you could. Yes, you could create a book. Doesn't it always work that way? Well, yeah, you're just laying in bed and you're like, I have a full book. Flowers, you need to learn how to manage your sleeps. What we got here? Oh, all right. To be clear. All right. Oh, taste. We got to do taste. All right. The fireplace sat in wait, crackling. Its warmth soothed the area, shading the green couch in an orange hue. A pine tease. Traced memory. Reaching over tongue. Or you should say the crackle. I guess we'll go with crackle. Crackle wood. 88. I don't really like that word, but rated a pine tease. Tracing her memory. Tracing her memory. Though I might get rid of it. Let's get rid of that. Reaching over a tongue. Yeah. As an example, we're just getting some taste in there. We're just getting some taste in there. Oh, good. No spelling errors. That's all I care about. All right. What do we got? Oh, we got more. We got more. Oh. Hey, what is up, Jack? Would you say the prose would be different depending on if it is the start of a scene or the middle? Is immersion more important at the start? Oh, that's a really great question, Jack. I believe, and I stand by this, the prose should be different depending on how deep you want to go into the character's experience, whether it is at the beginning, middle, or end. However, this is where I stand. Every moment in a chapter should be through a character. However, how much that moment influences the character based on the narrative would dictate if you play with the intro, the middle, or the ending more. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have the descriptions or the immersion throughout the chapter, because a lot of times what happens, especially with newer writers, they'll start with a really beautiful description and they'll just describe the environment or the room, and then once they step into the room, the characters, the environment sort of fades away. It's sort of still there because maybe they sit on the couch, maybe it's like, oh, all right, they leave the living room. But if you that's called segmentation or something like that. I believe that's what it's called, segmentation, where it's like, this is the introduction. All right, here's some dialogue. Okay, there's a little bit of movement, and then we got, right. You don't want to necessarily do that. So my short answer is, it's not necessarily an immersion is more important at the beginning, the middle, or the end of a scene. It's important to move through how the character is experiencing what they are experiencing, whether that is at the opening, the middle, or the end, but still maintaining a through line of immersion. How deep you go onto that depends on your author voice and what you deem too slow of a pace or too fast of a pace. However, I would recommend switching things up. Sometimes you have a fast opening with a slow middle and then fast end. Sometimes you have a slow beginning, a fast middle, a slow end. Sometimes it's fast, slow, fast, whatever. Just mix it up. Sorry, I hope that answered your question. Sorry, I'm not really engaging right now. Hey, feel free to lurk. Heather, we love it when people are just hanging out, just, chilling, relaxing, and just learning. And this is a very encouraging environment. We're here to elevate and celebrate one another. And it's all about learning and doing whatever we can. So feel free just to sit and enjoy. A lot of people say to just like listen to me be a wacko. But feel free to ask any questions you want. There is never any judgment. There are no dumb questions. This has been another of those really helpful lessons for me personally. I love hearing that, Ro. Thank you so much for telling me that. I really appreciate that. Good job with no spelling errors. I know, right? I couldn't believe it. For dyslexia, Same here. Oh, fantastic. Thumbs up. Great, Jack. I'm glad it helped. I had to go AFK for a while, so missed a lot of explanation. I'll have to watch it again later. Yeah, tell me if you have any questions after you watch it again. Later. You could always leave them in the comments, and I'll be happy to. A lot of the times I am working while listening. What's funny? A lot of the times I am working while doing it. Anyway, all right. So to get to the point. All right, to get to the point. we got all the stuff in, so let's bring this down and just look at what it looks, well, let's see what it looks like. We're going to just highlight everything and then we'll call it a day, okay? All right, sight. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this would be sight. Sight beyond sight. I'm also going to change them. She shifted her hips past the couch, rubbing. Oh, I just want to do this. Tracing her fingers over. What is it called? The pillow. The pillow. What is it called? Pillowback. Tracing her fingers over. Pillowback. That's all I need. I don't need to go any crazy on that. All right. Oh, what do we got? What do we got? You know, I like words. All right. However, I better concentrate. I've been fiddling with edits. You pushed me to add a sentence in regarding a character's dog. Fantastic, fantastic. I like when I inspire. Now you're going to color code it. I was wondering when that was out. Yeah, we're just going to try to rush through the color code and get through it. I'm heading off. Angel Faye, I'll see you tomorrow. If I don't, I'll see you next week. And have a great night. Thank you for sitting and hanging with us. You know I appreciate your company. All right. Sound. Let's get to the sound. Casting a father's I still got a laughter. Laughed. She shifted her hips and pants and tracing her fingers. Crackling. Crack-a-deck-a-lackling. Oh, we did crackle twice. We're going to change that. We're going to change the crackle. I don't really like to double up. We try not to double up. Snap? Oh, the creak. Creak of wood. I like that. All right. Bye, angel. Peace be to you. Like, subscribe, push it. Yes. If you like what you've seen so far, please bloop the beard and bloop the like button as well as subscribing so you don't miss stuff. All right, let's get the smell. What is that smell? The rubber of a shoe reached the edge, casting her grandfather's age into the air. All right, so this is smell because this is also smell. Stale. Stale is a smell. All right, she shifted her hips, tracing her fingers. Its warmth soothed the area, shading radiates a pine tease out to her. Oh, smell. Smelled it. Whoever smelled it dealt it. All right, touch. Opening the heavy door. Foot shift on the rug. The rubber flip the edge. So, oh. Ha-ha. Oh, you know what's interesting? I might have to catch warmth. What is this? What are we on? Touch? Yeah. Okay. All right, so here's something. Tracing her fingers over its pillow back. This actually could qualify for both touch and movement, but all right, now we're on taste. Taste will be this. Taste. Taste. That has some taste to it. All right. Do we have time? Time. I did not add time, but again, I wasn't trying to add the the major ones, but this is internal, and then this is movement. And the reason that's movement is because we can sort of sense what it would look like, the connectedness. All right, so there you go. As you can see, there is more sight. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sound only has 2. Smell has 1, 2, 3. Touch has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Taste has 1. Time has 0. Movement has 1, and internal has 1. So there you go. That's pretty much okay. We got that in. Any questions? Any questions or thoughts? Do you want me to explain anything? I mean, it's very, very straightforward. And I like doing this stuff as an exercise where you just take a moment and you just start building as much as you can when it comes to sensories. I will say this again. I did purposefully balloon this up as an exercise. But if you do this, I should say, I'll do this real quick. Let's say you did write this and it did pop and it looked like this. Like, your job is to look at that and try to find where they break up, right? But the other thing is, you could read this and be like, is it, do you do this things with things you read too as a way to learn? Oh, yes. I did it. I used to do it with screenplays. When I started really getting heavily into long form narrative, I did it also. I think I did a video on Game of Thrones where I basically broke down a scene in Game of Thrones, and I was showing like what was like an opening scene, what was the conflict, what was it. But also, I do study line work, because I do line editing, I do developmental editing, I teach writing. So I would often do that. In fact, I mentioned it earlier. I didn't really go too deep into it, but I am rotating a new video style into Saturdays, where every 5 weeks I'm gonna basically break down this kind of stuff. I'm gonna take real work that's out there, and I'm gonna break it down and kind of play with it. But I also have a prose series where it's called it's just prose. I break down the prose and I look at the prose and I study the choices and stuff like that. But you're specifically talking about immersion, and I do that. It's important for me to study that kind of stuff. But do all writers have to do it? Not necessarily. But anyway, so if you did end up ballooning your own examples up or your own writing, let's say you're working on a scene, it's your job to read through it as a writer and ask questions. So I'm going to read this, and let's see if it's too slow of a pace, or if it has logical narrative movement or a fast read. Now remember, slow pace can still have fast reading if the logical narrative movement is allowing the reader's brain not to have to think. Okay? Ellen pushed open the heavy, dark-stained door, her foot shifting the throw rug as she entered the room. The rubber on her shoe flipped its edge up and over. A kick of dust puffed up, casting her grandfather's aged home into the air, a stale, kind reminder of his once calming presence. A child laughed, tossing a ball up and down outside the window, framed in the blue shades held open on the far side of the living room. She shifted her hips past the couch, tracing her fingers over its pillow back. All right. Oh, I forgot she has to close the thing. Reaching the window. She closed the blind, the curtains. All right, curtains, whatever it is. Framed in the blue shades. I had removed that, I guess. The fireplace sat in wait, crackling. Its warmth soothed the area, shading the green couch in an orange hue. The creak of wood radiated a pine tease out to her, reaching over her tongue in the back of her mouth. All right, so there's a couple things. Ooh, what do we got? Well, before I jump on the comments, there's a couple of things that I would definitely work on. Some of these sentences need to be like cleaned up, maybe more concise, played around with. But as a first draft, as a run through. It's doing its job. I feel confident with a lot of the choices, but honestly, I would be adjusting this a little bit more. Um, there are some moments where I stuttered. Ellen pushed open the heavy, dark stained door, her foot shifting. That doesn't feel logical. It's not having a logical narrative movement. Dark stained door. Um, I might even, I might even say he tripped. Uh, tripped. Throw rug. She entered. Flipping its edge up and over. I would like, she tripped. She tripped on the throw rug as she entered. Flipping its edge up and over. Yeah, you don't even need the rubber. The rubber shoe. Like, why do we need that? Right. So that's what I would do as I go back and start. And those are things you should think about. So if you do start ballooning up your work, that's fine. You just have to go back and do the work and start making choices. All right. What we got here? What we got here? Do you do? Oh, we talked about that. Do you do this? Well, like when I'm reading my Kindle books, I realized I can highlight passages, excellent, in different colors. I was thinking I could explore some styles that way. Yeah, I mean, it'll help you kind of see what choices characters, authors are making when it comes to the descriptors, how often they are describing, and how often they aren't. I could show you quote unquote successful work where it's 3 or 4 pages of just visual. There is very little immersion as far as sight. I mean, taste, smell, touch. It's all just heavy, heavy sight. Does that make it bad? No, it's a choice. Author voice is always a choice. Do you want to go into immersion? Do you not want to? I like immersion. As much as if I can create movement to the room, the characters, and their involvement to it, the better I feel as an author. But that doesn't mean it's great. It doesn't mean it's, all writing should be this. So you do have to make choices on what it is you're looking for. The benefit of studying other people's writing, as far as that is, it lets you kind of see what options are out there. So you can sort of take them and then be like, how do I play with this descriptor? How do I, make it my own? And I recommend trying to always make something your own. I'm wearing out so my senses right now. That I'm wearing out, so might not make. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I get tired too. My brain goes. Okay, what else we got here? Anyone else interested in forming a support group to deal with the shadow daddy vibes of today's thumbnail combined with being promised sensory details? It's a lot. Diana, I am now. That's funny. That's funny. I know Ro's gonna join. I do that when studying sometimes. Yeah, it's important. It's important to sort of do a little deep looks, different colors for different topics. That definitely helps. That takes me back to my younger days as a writer. Because when we used to do like screenplays, first of all you would highlight the characters talking, but then you would also highlight the action, and then you would highlight parentheticals, and then you would highlight dialogue. But then you could go deeper, the dialogue, like what, plot, world, character, and you would highlight the difference of that in dialogue. So yeah, it was something. I've already plotted my cushion for that. That's fine. I love it. That sounds very rude. All right, what do we got here? All right. If anyone has any questions, I'm up for it. Let's get into the poll. The poll. The poll. Hardest part of starting chapters. My computer's starting to be silly again. All right, hold on. All right. The hardest part of starting chapters. Okay, we have 14 votes already. That's fantastic. If you haven't voted yet, you can still have time to vote. I'm just going to read through it, and then I'm going to end the poll. So we have hardest part of starting chapters. We have finding the right entry point, 50%. Very good, very good. Avoiding repetitive intro patterns, excellent, 21%. We have a tie, for avoiding repetition into patterns and transitioning from last chapter, both were 21%. And then, of course, 7% for maintaining clarity on POV switches. Switches! So I'm assuming 7 people voted for finding the right entry point. I'm assuming 1, 2, who's that? 4, 2, 2, 5, 6, 7, something like that. Not bad. Yeah, this is good. What we got? What we got? I highlighted a lot of stuff. Oh, you did? That makes me feel good. Is it just like, oh, this is a spelling error? Isn't it great, Ro? Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I do like that I wrote that book. I'll just put that out there. Not done yet. I know it's a thick book. I chose repetitive. Yeah, the repetitive intros is definitely something to look out for when you're writing, and all it just means is, are you coming in with, like, is it always dialogue? Is it always like, there is always action? Sometimes it's okay to sit and, no grammar Nazis. It's okay for an intro to be different than the previous intro. It's all right to have movement. It's all right to be sitting still. It's all right to be thinking. It's all right to be talking. It's all right to be, and what that does is it helps with pacing. It helps with the reader being like, all right, but you also have to be very clear with what the previous chapter is. What is the emotional truth of the previous chapter? How is the chapter moving? Is it slow, fast, medium? Is it high emotion? Is it low emotion? Is it physically intense, or is it, sort of pretty low key? All that influences how you should start the next chapter. One of the things I like to do in the Death of a King series, the first book, well, most of the book, but what I like to do is Devious, in the first book at least, Devious is more reserved in the beginning, the first act, and Aaliyah is more woo. So what I like to do is I use her chapters to break up the more reserved elements of the Devious chapters. Though sometimes Devious does have more holy crap that just happened chapters. So then I use Aaliyah's chapters to sort of kind of pull us into a new realm, into a new emotional truth. So it is important to understand those things when doing your transitions. I swear Thomas didn't believe I read the whole thing. Well, because it's so, look, you read it fast. And I feel like you skimmed it, but then you started, I was like, oh no, she's just really great at reading fast. Like, you were just like, you just sucked that up, and then I was like, oh, it's Emma. I'm struggling with repetitive intros at the moment. Every bloody chapter is my heroine closing. Definitely go back and change that up. Only because what it does is you got to use your openings as sort, and this isn't just to Emma, this is to everybody, because Emma's a fantastic author. She's got like 3,000 books out there. This is just for everybody. The change up is also a nice reset. It's a palate cleanser for the reader. And if they start off in, walking the horse, and then it ends with whatever, and then the next chapter is them loading up the horse, and then it ends up, like, it messes with the rhythm of their emotional connection to those characters. Poor Thomas can't afford a glass. Buy his book so he doesn't have to. First of all, I love these mason jars, and I bought a whole bunch of them because if I go out and I make tea, yes, I drink tea. If I make tea or something, I can close it up and I can carry it with me. But I like the feel. This, by the way, in a book, this would be a character behavior trait position that would be shown. So if I have my own mason jar or jars that I carry around while traveling or whatever, or if I go to a restaurant and I pull it out and I go, can you fill this up? Not that I do that, but that's how you show. You don't have to tell people I like mason jars. You just have me with mason jars. Yes, Emma, the success book is a slow read and deserves dedication. I appreciate that. And time to really let the thoughts sink in. At least for me anyway. Sometimes I need to hear some things 100 times to get it. I'm the same way. I'll be honest. I may write fast if I understand what it is I'm writing. But when I read other stuff, I read a lot of self-help books and a lot of like finance books and a lot of investing books and a lot, like all that stuff. Like there's a thing called rehab when when you invest in property where like you basically buy a property, and then you refurbish it, then you take a loan out based on anyway. I had to read that book slow. I had to, because it's greatly in depth, so it's important. I can read a 250-page book in under 2 hours if I put my mind to it. I read Gone with the Wind in a weekend when I was in high school. Of course, I failed the quiz on the next Monday. Yeah. They were like, "That's Gone with the Wind." Well, the self help. This book is about 300 pages, right? I think it's 300. Yeah, it's like 300 pages. 310 pages. It's not a long book. It's just a dense book because it's educational, Emma, lots of people drink out of these jars. It's the U.S. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because she's from across the pond. Yeah, I'm in London too. A lot of trendy cafes use them. Yeah, it's because they're trendy. Uh, oh, where are we? Oh, the poll. So yeah, when you're doing transitions, definitely think about what happened in the previous chapter. It's very important. When it comes to the repetitive patterns, I talked about that. It's a reset. It's a recleanser. It's a palate cleanser. Finding the right entry point. This is something I understand why this is at 50%. Because finding the right entry point says a lot about the narrative purpose of that chapter, but also the characters. It's telling us a lot about who the characters are, why they're doing what they're doing, where they're going in. And remember, every scene, every chapter needs a beginning, middle, and end. And the beginning needs to establish context. We have to know what's going on, but not enough where it's telling us everything. It has to be vague but informative. And then you continue to inform the audience, the reader, with context into the conflict of the chapter, the middle. And then, of course, you have to resolve with context as well. But where you start, finding the right entry point, should be doing a lot of the work of that context. We have to establish who, what, where, when, why, and how of that. So think of your entry points as doing some of that work. How does the first, say, 200 words do the work of explaining what's happening without me explaining what's happening? How do I use characters hiking as an entry into the theme or the purpose, the narrative purpose of this chapter? How do I use loading up a dog into a car, right? So that is what you should be looking for. I'm going to end the poll at 14 votes, and we have, by the way, there is no right or wrong answer. It's just something to get us talking about stuff and thinking about writing in general. But I'm pretty excited on the results. Let's get that going. Boop. What we got here? So that was a lot of fun. Oop. Oh, okay. All right, it's starting to be freezy. I could read that in a few hours, but for a book like that, I'd want to make notes, so it would take longer for that reason alone. Yeah, I can read pretty fast as it is. I could do, but like I have to skip words, that's why I like listening to audiobooks, because I kind of sit in it, and like because of the dyslexia, when I listen, it really I just absorb it a lot better. Not that I listen to 2 books at the time, and they're at a 300, and then I have my fingers on braille. No, I'm not like that. Except my answer was the right. Of course, Emma. Yes, obviously, your answer was indeed the correct answer. All right, to everybody out there, if you don't know, make a right left here.com. I have 3 books available. Oh, I have news about the 27 plot point outline. I will mention that in a second. I just showed you the Breaking Down Success book. It's available on makearightlefthehere.com. You can buy it on Amazon. I also have Death of a King. If you don't know, it is exclusively available on my Patreon through the Scribe tier. It is not just the book to read. You also learn the process. So I talk about my outlines. I talk about the 0, 1st, and 3rd drafts. And I talk about a lot of my choices. But I am also currently still working on a lesson plan that will be in the scribe tier, available with the scribe tier, where it's going to teach how to write prose, how to write immersion and deeper, and how to approach the writing process in general. It will explore and explain a lot of stuff like logical narrative movement. It'll go into things that I've talked about on this channel, but it will be in a way that is not only in depth, but it will also teach you exercises you could do, etc., etc. I'm really excited about that. It's been going really well. As far as far as what do we got here? Boop. Oh, in all fairness, I haven't been reading it every spare moment. There is no judgment, my friend. Otherwise, yeah, I would be burnt out too. I had to take breaks when I wrote it. There's never any judgment about how fast somebody could read, you know? It's about, are you enjoying yourself? As far as this book goes, if you don't know, I got the final proof in. Look at that. See, it looks almost identical. Look at that. Look at that. It's almost identical. Anyway, I got the final proof, and I'm trying to figure out when I want to release it. So, I think I might just hit the publish button on the Amazon, and then start pushing it. I've been talking about it so much that I feel like, you know, I've already been doing what I've been doing. Yeah, the book is ready. The book is ready. So if I were you, I already have banners up on my website. If you haven't been to the website, but you can't click. It doesn't go anywhere. But I will add the links. And this week, it should be available. It should be live. I am going to make some posts once I when I verify it. Keep in mind, though, some of you are in England, so you know I will be sleeping if when you may see it go live, and then when I wake up, I will post about it. So yeah. So if you're looking forward to this book, let me know. If you're looking to purchase the book, let me know. If you're just gonna buy it on Amazon, that is fine too. It will be available this week. So you know, just look for all the fun notifications. Other than that, I had a lot of fun today. Yay! All right. We had a lot of new faces today. That made me really happy. I'm so glad there were so many new faces. New faces. Is this? I kind of like your book, Emma. I am still reading it. It is more recreational reading at spare moments here and there. Yeah, her books are fantastic. That's all I'm saying. I really love her books. All right, other than that, is that everything? We did good today. 2 hours. I didn't think I'd be able to get through this. Once I hit that hour, I was like, I think I'm running a little late. No, this was fun. If you're new here and you really liked what you saw, by the way, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. It means a lot to me. The thumbs up also helps the algorithm for the YouTube. I've been growing this channel for almost 4 years now, right? May will be my 4th year on this channel. We are killing it as a community. It's a place that continues to grow. Look, we got 15 people watching today. I remember when it was only 4 or 5 of us doing these lives. And I'm just humbled and honored and grateful that I get a chance to sit here on the weekends and do what I do to help aspiring writers. Because I am aspiring to inspire all of you every day as much as I can. And that's why I love all the educational stuff that I do here. So other than that, you know, I think it's probably time to eat a little something. Unless anybody has questions, you know, I'll be happy to do a quick. Oh, Flowers, didn't you have a question? Flowers, didn't you have a question? Let's do the question. If you have a question, let's get the question out. I want to do the question out. Let's answer audience questions. I remember you saying you had a question. Have an awesome day. Oh, you told your friend about the live. That's fantastic. That's Ooh, yeah. You're the best, bro. I really appreciate that. Hopefully he tuned in. Maybe he did, and he was like, look at this guy's beard. Number has trebled since I started a year ago. That's fantastic. Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, our viewership has indeed doubled up. Good night, Diana. I had the misfortune of reading a romantasy book the other day. That's funny. Well, it is romantasy. I think I talked myself round from the question. Oh, all right. Okay. All right. Well, remember, you could always reach out to me. You could always reach out to me. We're friends. We're friends on the social medias. All right. Which one? Oh, all right. Well, let's hear this. Let's hear what it is. Which one? Afghani, let us know. Tell me now. Boo, 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 boo. Let me heal your. Yeah, right. Ooh, let's close this. Let's get this out of here. Boop. Trying to. I don't know. My computer's being a turd. Dragon Mirror or something like that. Dragon Mirror. Oh, computer's going slow. Dragon Mirror. Romantasy. See. Awakening? Is that what it's called? Dragon's Mirror series. Awakening. So maybe that's it. Let's see. Dragons. Oh, there's a dragon lady on the front. Is it Nina? Nina. I didn't finish. Oh, dear. Who was it by? Bye, everyone. I'll see you later, Ro. Be good, my friend. Ladies, this is what you read? Well, that's funny. Yeah, something like that. Ah, maybe. I had to be in the mood to read. Tell me about it. I'm ready. I'm reading The Baby Plan now. Love it so far. The Baby Plan. Let's see. Anyone else's high school teachers? Oh, by the way, is it a good book? SB, are you enjoying it? Are you enjoying the book? Anyone else's high school teachers always say, if you have questions, other people probably do too, but are too shy. That is, yes. I used to hear that all the time in class. I do some romantasy, mainly because I like to check out trends. Ooh, thanks, SP. That's right. The Baby Plan by Emma Bennett. I'm reading Jagger by Anna Blakely right now. Because they move like Jagger. Don't you move like Jagger? Let me see something. What we got here? Standing in the cemetery in the rain at your grandmother's funeral? Yeah, that's definitely not how I pictured spending my 23rd birthday week. But here I am, watching them lower the woman who raised me into the ground while my mascara probably looks like an abstract art project. Oh, the irony isn't lost on me that grandmother would have found this whole scene dramatic as hell. She always said I had a flair for the theatrical. Apparently, even her funeral was going to prove her point. She looks just like Vivian did at that age. Someone whispered behind me, the resemblance is uncanny. Is that the book? Did I read the right book? What's going on here? I'll just get an audio version of this. Nina. Interesting. Ugh. She did the she does oof. She's not doing she's doing like she's just doing block prose and not no indents. Nice. She's probably her first book. She's probably enjoying herself. As long as she's happy, that's all that matters, you know. You gotta find joy in what you do. Oh, Jesus, she has a ton of books. Oh, they're all. She's just having fun. She's doing what she's doing. Bet you she paid a lot for these covers, though. All right. Yes, I knew it. It starts kind of like a normal fantasy book, but it all sets up the point of her finding a tall man to have wild. Wow. What was the name of it again? Oh, I just closed it out. Let me find it again. The Mirror Dragon book. Maybe. What's it called? I don't know. The Mirror Dragon. History. It's called, and I quote, Dragon's Mirror. Book 1, known as The Awakening. It has a really nice cover. Anyway, there's a lot of immersion on those. The sword of desire penetrated the endless caverns of Yum. Is that for research purposes? Probably. Immersion in the wild sex scenes. I will buy 2 of them. Is there a lot of sex scenes? When's the first sex scene come? He nods and walks away. His umbrella penis. What? He nods and walks away. Oh, I misread that. Umbrella penis was totally. Hey, look, it's Richard, everybody. What's up, Richard? Just coming to see Emma talking about wild sex scenes. That's what we do. Yes, that is. Yes, Diana. That is who it is. Who it is. Endless caverns. Someone needs to do it. Richard, gong of success. By the way, Richard, I don't know if you know this. But this book of mine comes out this week. So if you want to buy a book about outlining, or if you don't care about outlining, but I know you do, it is a deep dive into understanding and breaking down narrative and what narrative is and how to use it. So that'll be available this week. What in tarnation? You're welcome, my friend. A book? Well, yeah, I got a whole bunch of books. That sounds excellent. I appreciate that, Richard. You didn't know I got a bunch of books. I got 3 books. I got my success book. I got I got my fantasy book on Patreon. I got a poetry book that I don't push because it's poetry. All right, Richard's new book is available to pre-order. Is it? Well, I didn't get it. Richard, what's the link? Oh, man. Oh. The thing is... Shh, Emma, that's not public knowledge. Oh, no one heard or saw that. Richard Holiday. Richard, if you have a link, I'll put it in my descriptions. I'm always happy. Oh yeah. Remember, Richard, we support the supporters. You know, we celebrate and elevate everybody on this, you know. So don't feel like I was told not to say. I will send you my newsletter link. Oh, please do. Please do. That's what I need. Another newsletter link. Are you on my newsletter? Are we switching? Is this like sort of like I'll send you my Polaroids if you send me your Polaroids? I have sent it to Emma. I got excited. Emma told me your book was one of the best books she read. And I was like, I have to read this book. I'm just saying. You got high praise. Let's see if she can put it in the chat without being a lemon. Forget everything you heard. You'll see nothing. You'll see nothing. It's funny. That's hysterical. Oh, for FFs. Emma, feel free to put the link. You can put the link in the thing. Go ahead. Do it. I added that book to my... Any others to put on my list today? Oh, yeah, to be read. I don't know. I don't have any off the top of my head. However, I will say this. If you've ever read... There's a trilogy. And the trilogy is called Legends. And it's Dragonlance. But it has like Tales of the Twin, Time of the Twins. I think Trial of the... Or War of the Twins. That trilogy as Legends or any one of those books, fantastic read. Excellent character work. Very funny stuff. It has humor. It has darkness. It has wizards. You name it. It's pretty sexy. Oh, there it is. Subscribe. Open that. Put that here. Subscribe. There he is. Look at Richard. Look at him. Look how pretty he looks. You didn't think I'd manage that, did you? Look at that. Visit my author page on Amazon. Let's do it. I'm going right to Amazon. Look at this. Oh. We're showing you items that dispatch to, whatever. Oh, because you're England. Look at that. Son of a bitch. It's England. Look at all this. Look at Richard and all his books. We're going to be looking at this later. Let's do that. There you go. Richard. Very cool. Ed, Weight of the Crown. Oh, yes, Weight of the Crown. Honestly, it was touch and go, Emma. Touch and go. That's funny. Followed you on Amazon, Richard. Do 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 do. Amazon. Boop. Why does it do that? Take these broken wings and learn to fly away with me. Dun, 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 dun. Was it 4 o'clock already? Come on, people. What is going on here? It's not letting me follow you. I have to put a code in. What's going on here? Come on. Come on, I gotta get back to the show. I'm trying to be supportive, but I'm trying to get back to the show. All right, here we go. My secret password is... I hope you remembered that. There it is. We're showing the ends to see the ends. No, we're going to keep that. There you are. I followed you. What do we got here? Woohoo! Weight of the Crown is actually a good book, unlike the one you added. Who's the author? Let's see. Weight of the Crown book. Let's see. Weight of the Crown. Looks like a young... It says it's a young adult fantasy. Is it Jennifer Wilcock? Sign of Pain. That's the author's name. Sign of Pain? What? Did I get it right? Nightmare Tenant. Looks very interesting. Everyone buy Richard's book and not this one, which he doesn't exist. He forgives me. Yeah, it's a weird name. Jennifer Wilcock. Will she? Oh, Nightmare. Ooh, Nightmare Tenant. Let's see if we can read a sample. Let's do this. It's really tiny. I'd give anything to play hooky right now. The sun streaming through the floor to ceiling, windows warmed, the throne room teasing. Theo, like a flirt. Dust particles danced in the sunbeams as he stuffed the desire to stand and stretch his arms, listening to people from his clean. The wolves. Interesting. Why don't we do this so I could read it? The sample was really tiny. I'm like, what the hell's going on? All right, here we go. Wolves complain about the new policies he'd put in place was one of the least favorite parts of his new role as King of Wolf King. All right. I don't know if I want to get... I'm not going to give feedback about this because it's somebody's published work, but that's what I do as a developmental editor. I read and then I say, hey, let's adjust this. All right. What do we got here? Oh. The Weight of the Crown, a soul traded for a beautiful lie. This is the full name. Oh, okay. So that might be a different book. That's not a weird name. Blame. Oh, that's your real name? I thought it was like like an author name. Like my stage name is Thomas J. Bellezza, but my real name is not Thomas J. Bellezza. It's something else, right? So I thought it was like Richard Holiday. Holiday, celebrate, change it to dickification. Did I ever tell that joke where I go, there was a famous actor and he tried to get a job and he went to an agent and the agent said, you're a fantastic actor. You could sing, you could dance, excellent drama. You're very good. Very good. It's just your name, your name is a little difficult to, maybe we should think about changing it. And he goes, why? What's wrong with my name? And the agent goes, it's Penis von Lesbian. And he goes, well, it's German. And he goes, yeah, but could we change it? So Penis von Lesbian's like, yeah, I guess. Could we change it to Dick Van Dyke? All right. So stupid. My uncle told me that joke a long time ago. That's the title of my next book. Dick Vacation. You're not reading the right one. I realized that when I saw the thing up on top. Good one, Richard. That was good. My life is complete. Oh, Emma. I'm glad you like the Penis von Lesbian. Puts a whole new spin on period drama in her books. Heyo! Sign of Pain is a weird author name. That is a weird... Yeah. I wonder if that's the real name. Author Sign of Pain. Sign of Pain. Sign. Oh, wow. All right. Oh, it's 2:10. All right, everybody. I think we had a great time. I think we had a lot of fun. But as all great things must come to an end, so shall this. I think I'm out. All right, my friends. Thank you so much for joining us. I will see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be doing the Write a Book With Me series, where we write from concept to completion. We are still on Chapter 1. Writing out the first draft of the book, so that should be sexy. If I don't see you through the week, I'll see you through the window. I love that. That's a fantastic quote. All right, everybody, I'm out. Everybody. Hasta luego, Wiedersehen, au revoir. Ciao, Bella. Arrivederci. Okay, I'm gone. Bye. Oh, keep developing the right mindset. Okay, bye.